Welcome to Global Forum, a platform for discussion of global issues from global perspectives. This very brief interview with Congressman Dennis Kucinich actually seeks to clarify some of his new and very powerful concepts. Congressman, you have proposed a Ministry or Department of Peace. Please tell us why.
In the American society, we have some major problems with violence inside homes. Domestic violence, spousal abuse, child abuse. And the Department of Peace would take a compassionate way in creating programs where families could go for help so that they could ameliorate the conflict that's happening inside the home, a compassionate approach where people would learn how to deal with their feelings and not resort to violence. That's just one part of this Department of Peace proposal. It also addresses violence in the schools, gang violence, racial violence, violence against gays, police community problems. I believe that we can create structures in our society to help people deal with their differences so that the violence doesn't break out into the open and result in bloodshed.
Will it have global consequences?
Of course.
International relations?
Yes, it does. There is an international component where the United States would work wherever we see poverty, drought, famine, people finding unsettling conditions. At the beginning, not when they get out of control. We would be there to provide assistance and help. Not talking about military here, talking about economic and social assistance to help people. You know, there's a point at which a war existed in some kind of a kernel of a conflict. And just think what it would mean if we get to the beginning of those things that created the conflict instead of dealing with the effects of the conflict long after it's widened. You know, we wait too long.
It fix the bad seeds, so to speak.
Exactly. So the Department of Peace creates a whole new approach towards international relations where we work with nations to look at the difficulties which occur inside their society and deal with them in a nonviolent, peaceful way so that we don't always look for military solutions, which generally are non-solutions anyway.
It seems to me that will be the first time to think of the state system in 21st century context.
Yes.
Because previously all accumulated centuries have been to think in Ministry of Defense, Ministry of War.
Right.
To think of Ministry of Peace will be a totally new way of looking at the things.
That's exactly right.
And how does that tie in with your concept of strength through peace?
Well, the whole idea is that strength through peace means that you adhere to international law, that you don't go into another country for the purpose of trying to control that country, that you may help the country deal with some of its difficulties, but not through arms. This whole idea that the way that we solve problems is through the barrel of a gun is old thinking. We know that those are temporary fixes that inevitably lead to longer-term conflict. So we need to have more respect in our dealings with people of other nations, and the Department of Peace would be a very valuable way of creating programs and policies that are based on meeting the needs of people and stop trying to control people.
Congressman, what you said makes immediate sense. And the fact that your speech so far has been billed as the best speech, the most popular speech of the convention, given that fact, why is it that they're more prominent, or more prominence is not going to your ideas in national and international terms at this time?
Well, it's a matter of time, because as people hear them, they heard them at the convention yesterday, they like what they heard. So as these ideas begin to get more and more circulation, I think that ideas have a certain time in which they spring forth. And they're like a plant. And the soil is becoming more and more fertile in the United States and in the world for ideas of peace and reconciliation to begin to spring forward and to grow and to blossom. So I think it's only a matter of time.
My last question, I know you need to go, is I'm going to Islamic Society of North America's convention where about roughly 40,000 people come. Many people from all over the world are coming. There is a Hindu gentleman from India, very prominent peace activist. Is there room and is there need to link up with international communities of peace all over the world?
Absolutely. And I think that's the key. That the way that we achieve peace is through working in all of our countries in a dedicated way, right through to the level of the home, and to being compassionate in the approach that we use. We can, just as violence is learned, so can peace be learned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Children learn violence. Children can learn peaceful responses too. Over a generation, we could create a whole new world. And that's the idea. And so I'm confident that tapping the brilliance of all the great religions, that we can really come to a place of salam, shalom,
Yes,
peace.
absolutely. Before I thank you, let me ask you one for a promise. There's a great exchange of letters between Gandhi and Tolstoy on the question of peace. May I have your sort of consent in principle to continue this discussion for one more interview with you in DC when it's convenient for you, so we can talk in greater detail about issues of peace and how to build peace in 21st century.
I would like to do that, and I'd also like to have the opportunity to attend that conference so that I could have the chance to meet with some of our brothers and sisters there.
Thank you much, Congressman.
Thank you.
This is building peace by talking to each other, understanding each other, and creating common humanity. As Pope John Paul said, there can be no peace without justice, but more importantly, no justice without forgiveness. We learn to need to forgive, transcend, and become better human beings with the capacity to love each other. This program will continue in many more sessions. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Much
Wow.
obliged.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.